Hello everyone and welcome back to another car profile where we're looking at the Nissan NISMO GT-R GT3 car, the 18 car that is then. It has a 3.8 litre twin turbo V6 engine and looking very good here going into that Fuji chicane. Front engined rear wheel drive then, 6 gears in this car as well. We'll talk about the gears a little bit later on. This is, of course, a redevelopment of the GT3 car. We have the old car in. This is a redevelopment of that car. You can see the bop there, 542 brake horsepower, 1,355 kilograms of weight. So it seems quite heavy there to me in terms of cars in the GT3 class. Very much more a handling-based car in GT7. I know the old car in GT Sport was very much more power-based, of course. And we have had a new livery added based on the film, or reference to the film, of course, with the white livery, and I did beat the meta in that then. So with this car, we're going to jump straight into the test then, first of all, and of course it's a low speed bop test here at Laguna Seca. We do a low, medium, high speed bop test if you are new to these car profiles, as well as some other testing as well. This is, of course, the low speed bop test. We are racing against the Porsche 911 in terms of fastest laps here as we go through Sector 1. I did find it really clunky in Sector 1, especially that right-hander there. You only got a 0.8 there. I don't think I got into the 0.7s. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it did struggle on lower speed corners, I've found. When you get to around 90, 100 miles an hour, the car starts to come into its own. I did just talk about the handling aspect of this car. When you get to that 90, 100 miles an hour, this car just flies through corners. It's amazing. Going into this kink here, absolutely amazing through here. You could absolutely send it. I absolutely sent it later on in this session as well. Speaking of sessions, of course, we do 1 lap and 10 fastest laps for those interested as we go into the corkscrew here. No issues at the corkscrew at all. It just handled it so beautifully here. As we go down then, just under a 10th off the Porsche 911 still then. We are really competing with the very top of the field here then as we go into the final few corners. Are we going to see a new one on the leaderboard? That is the question. I can't actually remember myself as we head into this braking zone then. Really clip the hairpin on the inside short shift there to avoid that first gear power oversteer you suffer in a lot of cars. Then we're going to head towards the line then. Here we go. Are we going to beat the Porsche? Yes, we are. We're going to do fastest lap then in the Nissan. Here we go, folks. A new fastest lap, but remember, we do look at Optimum, so I'm getting all excited. Where does it fit on the Optimum leaderboard then? We're P4, so with a 0.2. Technically P2 because we've got 2 cars that have had bop adjustments above there. I do need to redo them. I'll talk about them at the end of this video again, of course. But we are P4 here at Laguna Seca, so not a bad outing here for this car. As I say, it only struggled in the low speed corners. So the first corner really did struggle there. A little bit in the last corner, of course, with the hairpin, but it seemed to nail it absolutely fine. That's where we just did get ahead of that Porsche, so it's a bit more stable potentially. But yeah, turn 1 really struggled. Turn 2, real big struggle there with that right-hander. It just felt like it didn't want to turn in. So you can very much see some improvements need to be made there, maybe in the car. I'm not too sure, but it did overall very well, didn't it? I mean, it came fastest overall into the fastest laps. P4 in Optimums, or arguably P2 if we discount the old cars, as we go into the medium speed bop test then, heading in towards turn 1. Really did like this turn 1 in this car. It just flew round here. Of course, as I get below that 90 miles an hour, it did start to struggle a little bit. We just clipped the outside there, but we're going to head into the S's now. Oh my word, it loves the S's. It really does. Look at this. We're going to fly through here. We really are indeed. Absolutely fantastic fun to use this car in the S's. It just flies through here. Felt so nice to drive this car in the S's. We are down on that Porsche 911, which holds the fastest lap here. Now, of course, you're probably saying, Tidge, don't other cars have the fastest lap? I remember the Genesis. Yes, but we don't count the old cars. As I've just said, we need to retest them now they've had a bop change. Going to hit, it struggled in Tidgney 1, actually, did the Nissan. It really did struggle in Tidgney 1. Didn't like the bump at all. Very much has bad interactions with bumps. So do keep that in mind. We are just under a 10th off this Porsche 911 then as we go into the hairpin. Again, slow corners. This is where this car really does struggle. It doesn't really want to get out there as we go for a bit of a wiggle and a half there on the exit. Trying to put that power down as we continue on towards Spoon then. So low speed corners, not good. Mid speed corners, arguably the best car in the class in my opinion in terms of mid speed corners. It's very much top of the range there. But probably with a Genesis to be honest with you, but it's so good, this car, in terms of handling. It really is on those medium speed corners. I don't know what they've done to the car in terms of GT7 wise. It just feels so good. Spoon there, absolutely fine, not a problem at all. And maybe a little bit at the end of it, Spoon, when it slows down the most, but we managed to handle it very well indeed. we get the line here. We're 2.5 tenths down on the Porsche 911. That is the hairpin. 130R though. Look at that speed carried through 130R. Incredible speed then as we go into the Casio triangle here. Through the left we go then. Going to head towards the line. No real drama on exit. That's one thing to note with this car. Power oversteer on exit. As long as you're going straight, no dramas at all. And we get towards the line then. We do get a bit on the Porsche 911, but not quite the fastest lap then. 1.5 tenths down. But as always, and as we said at Laguna, we look at optimum times then. Where does it fit on the optimum leaderboard? Here we go then. P7 drops a couple more places then. 3 old cars up ahead, so maybe P4 if you want to call it that, but didn't get into the 58s, which is critical. 58s are where the peak cars are going, but it's up there, let's be honest with you. It's very much up there. Just struggled in the slower speed corners. Tidgney 1 was very significant, and the hairpin as well. Maybe the end of spoon was a little bit, but everything else was top notch there. Now, it does struggle with a 6th gear. Well, just a bad 6th gear, to be honest with you, in terms of power. Doesn't seem to want to pull in 6th gear. So if you watch Beat the Meta, of course, you can watch it at the end of this video. Literally, I stay in 5th, even at Watkins on the long straight there. That's what I did in terms of using the power of the car, because 6th gear, just non-existent. So, of course, we're going to a high-speed track now in Bathurst, where 6th gear is actually going to become relevant. We'll see how it handles itself as we head in towards turn 1 then. This bump was a bit weird for me, to be honest with you, in this car. Really had to straighten the car up very quickly indeed to really get the best out of it. Otherwise, it was just all over the place, to be honest with you. And we are going to see that in terms of the Sector 1 time as well. I wasn't confident at that corner in this car, and it's a 19.2 there, just down on the Mazda. And that's a slow time in the Mazda as well in terms of Sector 1. But it's here though, this is where this car picks itself up once again. It's fast through that right-hander. This is where this car can really start to perform then as we go up the mountain. Going on the brakes now, looking to get it turned in. Try and get on the throttle very quickly. No drama there on the exits. A lot of cars do suffer drama. Not here, not in this Nissan. As we go up the mountain and through the right we go. Getting close to the barriers, not touching them then as we go down here then through the left-hander. Look at that, hardly lifting at all and carrying as much speed as we can. Over the crest of the hill we go. Still no real issues then as we look to the downhill section now. How far are we off this Mazda? 2 tenths down then. Not too shabby at all as we go hard on the brakes and into this right, then the left. No issues at the dipper at all there, really. It really does like this. This mountain is really, the mountain section is really good in this car. It feels good as well as we get to Forest Elbow. Through we go. Short shift there to avoid any issues at all. And as we continue on out of there. Now, of course, Bathurst is the time trial this week in Gran Turismo in any Group 3 cars. We are going to see how the bot works there, see where cars fit. But so far, from what we've seen on that time trial, the car profiles are working out top notch. We are 4 tenths down on this Mazda though, the Mazda RX Vision GT3 concept then as we head towards the final few corners and hard on the brakes in towards the chase we go. Going to accelerate out of there, not a problem at all as we continue then towards the final corner. Can we gain some time back? Can we get into 201s? That is the question then as we go hard on the brakes. Slow corner here, but it opens up quite nicely, so no real issues in this car. We head towards the line and looking for a 201.8. We're not going to get it. 202.3 then. Lost a bit more time towards the end. That 6th gear actually is a big killer in this car, so we have to go to it as we head towards the chase. So it did struggle in terms of speed, and that's where our speed trap is as well. We'll have a look at that after. In the end, though, we came home in P7, 201.840, tied there with the Toyota Supra GT500. Not too shabby with that gear issue. The mountain sections where it really is strong, this car is so strong on the mountain section, so it's not too bad at all. Now, I did speak to Mehdi, who is obviously an absolute specialist in this Nissan. He said it was around 3-4 tenths off the Genesis. Obviously, that was before the BOP update, and that's where it's actually come out in the end as well in terms of the Optimum. So I'm actually really pleased that the opinion of the GT World finalist there, Mehdi, specialist in a Nissan, actually came to fruition in this car profile. All looking like this is working out very well indeed. They are the BOP tests done. However, we are going to do some fuel tests now to see where this car sits in terms of fuel. So, what are we going to do then, folks? Well, we've got 4 screens here for you. We have fuel map 1 top left, half shift top right, bottom left fuel map 3, and bottom right half shift plus fuel map 3. That's the emergency fuel saving. The autos represent the gears there, so we're in automatic there, so the game changes for us. So you automatic drivers, just focus on the left-hand side. Everybody else focus on all 4 screens. We're looking at performance here. As you fuel save, does it lose a lot of performance? If so, it's not going to be a good fuel saver, irrespective of how much fuel it saves. First one comes across the line then, top left-hand side there. So it's just over 25 seconds. So it's not going to win in terms of the records there. 59% fuel used there. Top right is next up then, 66% fuel used. It cost 0.4 of a second to save those 7% of fuel. So is it good? Is it bad? We will see in the tables. Next up, fuel map 3. Took longer to get there, used more fuel. This is why we say fuel map 3, or using fuel map in general, is not the best way to fuel save. It really isn't, as we go to the emergency fuel saving, where we finish on 73%, but way into the 26s. Remember, we are looking for 25s across the board for a car to be a competitive fuel saver, as well save that fuel, of course. So, let's have a look at these leaderboards. First up then, maximum RPMs. This is automatic fuel map 1. We do not see it in the top 10 there. But where is it going to come? That is the question. I have updated all these leaderboards, if you haven't noticed already, to show up to 40 cars now, because we are on to car 31. It's so amazing to actually say that. 31 cars we've tested now. It's actually unbelievable. Not in the top 20 though. It comes home in P25, 59% fuel use, 25.3. So it's sitting with a lot of other cars around the same fuel usage, around the same performance. Just not outstanding at all, really, this car. Really isn't. But it's that 6th gear which does cost the performance in this car. It really does. Obviously, in maximum RPM, you get to 6th gear very, very quickly and just sit there, to be honest with you. Not really gaining. Arguably, half shift, you get there even quicker because you're not using as many revs. So we're expecting this car to do even worse here then in terms of the half shift. But it depends how much fuel it saves as well. We will see then. It's not in that top 20 to be expected, of course. Lots of cars in there then, and just seeing the performance as well. Finish up 66% from memory. There it is then. Yeah, it's just not good, is it? P28, so it loses some more positions. That 6th gear is so costly in this car. It just must be hitting the wall of air, being a brick, and just it's not able to pull with that 6th gear there. It's very significant indeed. It could be the weight actually hampering it as well, to be honest with you. A lot of weight in that car. It's probably why it suffered a bit at Tidgney 1, that is for sure. Fuel map 3 then, automatic. So obviously we are using maximum revs on fuel map 3. So I expect to do a little bit better than the previous test. But where's it going to come? That is the question. Still didn't make it into the top 20 then. Let's have a look at that bottom, that 20th position. Lexus, 67% in that 26-second margin. 67%. And wow, 65% is in the 26-second margin though. But you'd pick the Lexus over the Nissan if it was a fuel race. And that's what we're trying to represent here then. Okay, the final fuel test then. Apologies for all these tables, but I know people look out for their favorite cars. We have newcomers to the channel, which is why I still show all of the tables here then. We go to fuel map 3 and half shift. So this is the emergency fuel saving. If you have to save the absolute maximum, which car is the best at doing that? That is the question. On that first page, looks like it's the Mazda. It's very much up there indeed in 70% fuel in terms of that performance. We are looking for under 26 seconds. You can see the Toyota FT1 just misses out there at the top, but we're not looking at that car. That was the previous car profile. There we go, Nissan back in P28 then. 73% fuel in terms of what is left. But there are better cars up above it then. So it's really down at the bottom of the pile in terms of fuel saving. If it's a fuel saving race, I'm not really using this car. Although arguably that 6th gear does compromise this test a little bit for this car. It really does. But you'll be in 6th gear longer in a fuel saving race. So how much of a compromise is it? Not too sure. There's only so much we can test in terms of fuel. We're going to the tyre test now. Again, there's only so much we can do in terms of testing tyres. First up is the oval test. So back in GT Sport, weight was the determining factor in terms of tyre wear. So what we're doing here then is without human inputs, we're going to see how long the tyres last. So when that first tyre runs out, we add up all the laps. And that's exactly what we're doing here. I've actually sped this up even more this week then as we continue on to lap number 3 then. Going for quite a long time there. So we add up that 49.891 lap, the 53.328, and finally the 31.965 then. Okay. All 3 laps are added up. We are doing a second test now, which has human interactions. We have corners, we have accelerating, we have braking, we have everything in there and between. What we will do, though, is advance to lap number 5 then. We haven't got to 6, though, so it's not the greatest on this particular test. And as we go up the hill here at Sardinia Layout C, then round we go. We're suffering with that understeer now. That front left really wearing down then as we go into here, and it's just finished there. So we add up all 4 laps plus this final one here, and we see where the car comes. I can tell you now, looking at where it's finished, it's very much a bang average, it looks like there. But we will see in terms of those total times. First up then, it's going to be the tyre test at the oval. It's come out on top. Insanely, it's come out on top. So, of course, at the oval, the rear tyres wear first. So, FR cars don't have to worry as much because the weight is over the front engine, or over the front with the engine, and not over the back, which is why we have this FR and MR split. But it comes out top there. Very interesting indeed. It really is top of the pile on the tyre test. But we'll have to see where it comes on the circuit test. Of course we will, because obviously that's when steering and braking all comes into it as we get to the final car there, the Audi R8 LMS, the old Audi R8. Poor little car it is then. So what we'll do now is we'll jump to the next part of this leaderboard then. Come on, Tidge. There we go. And it's not top here on the tyre test. That's Supra keeping the P1 spot for now then. Where does this Nissan sit then as we go to the next page? Not even in the top 20. So this showed you with the handling aspect of this car, those front tires absolutely get slaughtered in this car. So it really isn't actually any good in terms of tyre wear tests. It's why we're doing 2 tests now. A lot of people said to do it. We do it, and you can see that it's P23. A lot of the handling cars, those front tires absolutely get slaughtered, and we've seen it here in this test. We really have. Again, the Audi R8 LMS down at the back there. It's a car that struggles in terms of it struggles in general, to be honest with you. In terms of top speed, I didn't actually mention it at Bathurst, but where does it sit? Remember, we have to go to 6th gear at Bathurst. This is at the chase as well, just before we go on the brakes then. So it's not sitting in the top 20 then, so it doesn't even make 170 miles an hour potentially here. That Toyota very much bottom of the pile of 170. I know people will say use kilometers an hour. I can't save the replay and check, but there we go. 168 miles an hour for the Nissan. Very much down at the bottom of the pile. There are not many cars on 168 and 167, so it's very much towards the bottom there, which is very interesting indeed. The Hyundai actually, or Hyundai, is at the bottom. I need to start pronouncing that right. I'm going to keep practicing that one. Overall then, where does it sit? Well, it's P8 overall then, and I would argue this is a meta car, okay? Anything from the McLaren 650S up is a meta car, and you can see it right there, P8. Bathurst, it let itself down a little bit, to be honest with you. That 6th gear really was critical, but, you know, it did well at Laguna. It did well at Suzuka. You can see it's a meta car, and it's very much going to be, if you get to a high-speed circuit where you are not using 6th gear, like Watkins Glen, for example, it's going to perform pretty well indeed. It really is. That's the back of the pack then, the Aston Martin DBR9 GT1 car, P31. So, in terms of the car profiles, then you're going to ask about the old cars. Well, unfortunately, because it was a Group 3 time trial this week, and I've spent tons of time in the Genesis, I don't think it's very fair for me to do the Genesis. So, I didn't actually do the Genesis this week in the end. What I am going to do, though, is do a separate video for all the cars to update you on those old car profiles and keep these car profiles for the cars specifically, so we don't have that wrong interaction or, you know, something is taken out of context here. So if you have enjoyed this video, do give it a like and do subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all the support, and we're on our journey to 50,000 subscribers now. The previous car profile is there for you to check out, or the beat the meta for this car. You want to see how I did racing this car? Check out that video there. Once again, a big thank you for your support, and let me know in the comments what car you'd like to see next in terms of Beat the Meta and the car profiles. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.